Last lesson, we got question and answers, so I hope you've been taking notes. If you have questions, I hope you've written them down so that we can have a great question and answer service. We always do here. I really appreciate the brethren here at the point, the leadership here, the good work y'all are doing, the good work you're fixing to begin shortly. That I think Drew mentioned it, Sonny and Manny were talking about that yesterday. It sounds like a great opportunity, and we look forward to that beginning. It's interesting that I got a negative lesson. My lesson seems to always be negative. You know, the brethren where I've preached in the past have complained that I'm a negative preacher. You always preach on negative things. I said, well, I'll tell you what, next time I'll preach on a positive subject. They said, oh, that's great. So I got in the pulpit and I said, you know, brethren, I'm positive that if you don't obey the gospel, you're going to go to hell. And I'm positive. So they didn't get the humor in that. But, you know, if you look at the Bible, look at the Ten Commandments. 8 of the Ten Commandments are negative. If you go to 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 1 through 4, Paul said, preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, and exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. That's 2/3 negative. Okay? So we got to preach the good, positive sermons, but we also need negative sermons. We need things that talk about sin and point out sin. And even though a lot of people might think that church discipline is negative, I think it's very positive. I think it is. I think it's negative in the mind of some people because they don't like it, they don't want to do it. In fact, the doctrine of church discipline stands really in contradistinction to the society we live in that really promotes tolerance. Everything's okay. You do your thing, I'll do my thing. You don't say I'm wrong, I won't say you're wrong. But that's not the way the Bible's written, and that's not the way God deals with us. Because we live in such a permissive society, church discipline has become one of the most neglected studies in the church today. In fact, negligence in this particular area of doctrine has caused the church discipline to be dubbed the forgotten commandment. I believe that there are some brethren in the church today that may have never heard a lesson on church discipline, let alone practiced it. That's how bad it's gotten. No doubt the difficulty, unpleasantness of church discipline has been partly responsible for us pushing this command aside, but also practical questions have been responsible for the neglect of this subject and the practice of it. How do we start? Where do we begin? What can we legally do? How far back do we go? Church discipline has been practicing so long that we may have members of the church that have been out of duty for months or years. So what do we do about them? And so those are some things that come up, and people are really throwing those things out there because they don't want to practice church discipline. And those are just some of the excuses that they will offer. So let's look at a couple of verses before we get into our lesson. I want to look at Psalm 119, verse 160. Psalm 119, verse 60. Thy word is truth from beginning, and every one of thy righteous judgment endures forever. And then Psalm 139 and verse 17. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God. How great is the sum of them. Now notice how that word sum is spelled. It's S-U-M. That's a mathematical term. The totality of God's word. That's sum, S-U-M, not sum, S-O-M. A lot of people want to say some of God's word is righteous. Just some of it, but not all of it. And that's what we get into with church discipline. One of the principal contributing factors to downward slide of American society, or any society for that matter, is the decline in discipline. We don't practice self-discipline. We don't practice family discipline. We don't practice discipline where criminals are concerned. We don't discipline our government. We don't discipline our society. So why would it surprise us that we don't practice discipline in the church? We don't practice it anywhere else. In fact, people don't like to be told what to do, nor do they like to be punished for not doing it. So when we think about this lesson, I want to start out and just ask the question, what is discipline? In a broad sense, the term discipline has reference to far more than just punitive action taken by one party against another. Generally, when we think about discipline, we always think about the negative aspect of it, where we're disciplining, we're punishing someone. Discipline also refers to training which occurs, corrects, molds, strengthens, or perfects, but it also includes punishment and chastisement. So when we think about discipline, it encompasses positive teaching and instruction as well as punishment, the aim of which is to bring about positive change. Whether we're talking about instructive discipline or corrective discipline, we're trying to encourage people to act in a certain way that is pleasing to God. And that's why I say, whether we're talking about instructive discipline or corrective discipline, it's always positive in my mind, because we're trying to accomplish a positive goal of turning people to God and getting them to live with God's blessing. Discipline can, of course, be divided into two categories, and that's preventive and corrective. Sometimes I like to throw in there self-discipline, a third category, but that's also included in preventive discipline, so we're going to skip that one. Preventive discipline, teaching given for the purpose of preventing mistakes before they happen. It's kind of like when I was growing up on the farm, you want to close the gate before the cows get out, right? Well, that's what preventive discipline is. We're trying to stop a problem before it actually occurs. In 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16 and 17, all Scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. And so the Bible is written and given to us to help us discipline ourselves. And that's instructive and corrective. Then 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 6, Paul tells Timothy, "Thou put the brethren in remembrance of these things, thou shalt be a good minister of Jesus Christ, nourished